This is Paranormal Borders Lab Podcast, brought to you by the Mexicali Biennial, with your host, Ed Gomez.
Today for the Paranormal Border Podcast, we have EJ Massey. We're welcoming EJ Massey, who's also known as the Legendary Blythe Bizzczar. I want to get down, figure out exactly how that came to be, the Legendary Blythe Bizzczar, and is also the co-founder of Abstraction Universe. That's another thing we want to unpack here on the Paranormal Border Podcast. EJ is a multidisciplinary artist, composer, editor, DJ who has developed a bold and dynamic visual language that fuels Abstraction Universe for both long content that you can find on YouTube and short content, including pieces across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X. Abstraction Universe showcases boundary-pushing art that weaves together cultural influences across generations. Join me as we explore EJ's creative process, his unique approach to digital storytelling, which I'm super into right now, and the forces that are both seen and unseen in his work that help shape his vision as an artist. So thank you, EJ, for being part of this Paranormal Border Podcast. We're happy to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So this is one thing I like to ask creatives is, do you remember a moment in your life when you realized that, hey, I want to be an artist?
I think for my mom. My mom did life drawings, and I would come across her old sketchbooks and stuff like that. She had I like to look at the ladies, she had the life drawings, the naked ladies. So I was like, oh, so I got really into that, just looking at her art and stuff like that. And I think I was really drawn in to know that she was doing art because, she wasn't doing that when I was a kid. It was like something like she was doing in college. And I was just like, oh, you lived a whole life before I was born? Like, what? So it definitely got me to that. And and music.
And you grew up in the South Bay, or where did you grow up?
Yeah, in the South Bay. Born in Harbor City, raised in Carson, and educated in Wilmington, Harbor City,
What was that like?
Man, it was crazy, man. It was... I really loved it because I grew up with a lot of Chicano culture, all that around me, and it wasn't out of the norm. It was very introductory. I think at that period of time, it was just very much so a lot of influences because we have Fijian in there, we have Samoans. I grew up with white and Samoan, and we got Latino all around, and I was just influenced by all these different cultures, and learning. My best friend was Guillermo. He's like, I was like, what does that mean? He's like, that means William. I'm like, oh. So it was just so amazing, just growing up around all that culture and different foods and stuff like that. It was a lot, and when I finally started going to school in Harbor City, it was right across the street from the projects, and the projects is now called Harbor Village now, but it was straight projects when I was there. So it was gunshots and it was very insulated, but then very very out there because I took the bus everywhere, since the fourth grade.
When did you start getting interested in music?
Music. I would say early. I started playing guitar, classically trained, at 8 years old. At 8 years old, yeah. There was a program going on with my school, and they had two music teachers come in. Shout out to Art Renshaw. He's the one that kind of helped me develop doing music, because we would play other people's songs, and I remember telling him, I don't want to play other people's songs. I want to play my songs. And I asked him, I still remember when I asked him, I was like, how much money can I earn playing other people's music? And he's like, ooh, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to play my own stuff. And he really helped me culture that, I think I learned Light My Fire by The Doors. And then after that, I was just I made this one thing up. And he's like, you have the recitals, to show that the parents are spending their money well. And one of my last recitals, I played my own original piece, and I remember just feeling like people clapped afterwards, and I was like, whoa.
And then eventually you went on to have your own band, right?
Yeah, sure did, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I did music with, I was out in the Mojave Desert, so I was with this band called the Freedom Fighters and Individual Hustlers. We would play Bandit Gypsies, Machine Gun covers, and just rock out, man. I forget the name of the place in Palmdale, but we would play shows there. I would take that music I recorded like way back then, listened to a lot of Prince. I think Prince Come was big then. It came out like in '93. And that whole album was just like, whoa, blew my mind, like, this is Prince? And like, yeah, this is Prince. Like, whoa, and so started playing with them and kind of broke off. The drummer got arrested for stealing a 24 pack of beer. He like snatched it out of the store. He gets arrested, and then that kind of broke up. And then I met up with my friend in college, John Fuga. Shout out to South Bay Spike. And he had a band called Anno Domini at the time, and I was listening to their music, and I would have my own beats because I was making beats and stuff, and we kind of got together and formed Abstraction in its many different forms. But the key thing is I was a fan of the band before I joined. I really loved the song called Stars. And it was this
Tell us about Abstraction. What is that?
Abstraction was like... I would say it's like psychedelic hardcore, I guess is the best way to put it, like psychedelic metal. If you have like elements of Tool, Gwar, Led Zeppelin, Prince, because I bring the funk, in everything I do. It was really like a good mashing together of just different like styles of music. And, we were like, we grew up together, but we kind of like, separated as you do. I went to 5 high schools in 4 years. So I was like, I bounced around. So like meeting back up in college was really good to like just meet people that you like went to school most years around, So it was really cool, man. Like we got to go on the Axis of Justice tour with Tom Morello, Bad Acid Trip. And like, it was really good. Like it was the most complicated music I think about playing. Like, you don't want to play drunk or anything like that because there was just so many transitions and it was new, political. We're very politically charged group, this was during the George W. Bush administration, So we got together with Food Not Bombs and passed out food to the homeless and, protest, you name it, man. Like I think back then was the Venice lottery system. Like where they wanted, like, instead of people sitting on the side of the on the side of the beach selling things, they wanted people to have a lot system and pay, and it was a big movement, man. We were so political and stuff back then, man. It's just so beautiful. It was beautiful. We had a female lead singer, Kiki. Shout out to Kiki. She was so amazing too. Like just lyrics,
And so some of that abstraction still lives on, right? So it's taking on a different iteration, though, right now.
Yeah. I think it lives on with the channel Abstraction Universe. I put like a lot of our old music, our old like video captures. Like these are on like DV, like old tapes. And I've got them like transferred over, and I put them onto the website so they can live on forever.
And the thing about Abstraction Universe is it has that audio component to it, but then there's something else happening. It's that digital collaging and special effects, and it becomes very much a visual experience.
Yeah.
Along with the sound, and like for me, being a visual artist, I'm more like drawn to the visual and color, the animations, the transitions. So you started out as someone who loved drawing, got into music. But now, do you see yourself doing more visual video work?
Yeah, I would say I'm a composer because that's what I'm doing. Is I'm taking compositions from Abstraction Universe. So a lot of times I'll take images from NASA, which are free to the public. So like we're talking like images of the moon, Saturn, and all that stuff like that. So I'll bring that in and make collages of like the different landscapes and stuff like that. And I learned color theory. And I use all color theory, so it all makes sense. Like I have a color wheel in my head, and I use a lot of color theory within my art and lightning and bubbles. I love lightning and bubbles, so you see a lot of lightning and bubbles in my stuff.
And when I look at this, and I highly recommend y'all checking this out too if you get a chance. Abstraction Universe on YouTube, and we'll get you a plug on that one and put it on the description. But when I look at it, I think about altered states of awareness, right? Because it's very trippy. Where sometimes on a landscape, and then we get transported and we're in outer space.
Yeah.
and then you pop up, and then there's a story, and then there's a backstory, but there's layers upon layers and layers of color, collage, movement. What are you trying to express with all that?
Basically, like what I'm seeing in my head. I've had a lot of experiences in life. Even from what I've seen, I actually had 5 grand mal seizures in Grand Mall Park.
What are those?
Grand mal seizures are like, I guess, brain interruptions. I had brain damage from a bad accident. Got in a really bad car accident in 2004. So I had to like learn how to rewalk and talk again. And my left arm was like this. I have a whole graveyard on my arm because my arm was just stuck like that. So a lot of those experiences, I couldn't really like express, and you would talk to people about it and they think you're weird, so.
What experiences? Like,
so, if I can take you back to my episode in Lomita Park, I was walking with my.
What year was this?
This was 2004. So I got in a car accident in the summer. I had post-concussive syndrome with stuttering speech, and I was pretty bad. So I was walking with my roommate, and we were just talking. Get out of the house. It was really hot, and I remember everything in my little world matched up. Every single thing. There was no mystery in my world. I remember talking to him, and I was kind of like ranting as we were walking around the block in Lomita. I remember these gangsters come up to us like, "Where are you from?" I was like, leave me alone. Like I was just like, and I kept on talking. Then the dog was barking. I was like, no. I need to get this out. And as we were going back to the park, I remember there's these gazebos, huge gazebos, right? And I remember seeing like 3 like shadow figures like sitting underneath this gazebo. And I remember looking at that, and we sat on the bench, and then I was asking him, like, is it okay to go? And I was just kind of like, getting spacey, and at that point he said I started licking the bench, and I started convulsing. And,
so when you saw the shadow figures, what did they look like?
They looked like they were just kind of looking, like Hood, like, how Kanye West, he has this little like weird thing. It kind of reminded me of that,
Like Inquisitor, Spanish Inquisition type of thing.
Yeah, and they were just kind of sitting there, and we were walking, and it was so empty in the park, and I started having a seizure. And what would happen when I would have these seizures is I would kind of pick out the pure white light from like the reddish light. And then I would follow that white light until I kind of spiraled.
As you're having the seizure?
Yeah, as I'm having the seizure.
What did those lights look like? Was it just like you're in complete darkness and you see this white light?
Yeah, like say if I'm like, if I was outside, I've had a lot of seizures. So like how it would start off was like I would be standing, like sitting on my porch. I lived in a single wide trailer, So I would be like looking at the porch, and then I would see like orange light, and then I would like see white light, like with more blue in it. And then I would look towards that, and then I was like, oh no, this one's even more white. And then I would kind of like spiral, and I've wandered off and had seizures, and man, it was a long road. So
as you're having these seizures and you're experiencing these seizures, do you remember what you're experiencing?
I remember my first one. I can tell you two occurrences. So the first one at Lomita Park, I remember like kind of, going into it, and then talking to my friend Mike. Shout out to Mike Smith. Man, saved my life. Like still my good friend today. I remember just kind of like, separating light, and then I started looking at the stars, and then I was out. So from my perception, what I saw was, as I was on the ground, I kind of like, from where I was seeing, I was there, right?
In the universe?
Yeah, like it just kind of like in the light. And from my perspective, I was like waking up. I'm gonna close my eyes here. But I was waking up, there's a whole line of beds here. Like, like imagine like a hall, just full of beds. One row and the next row there. And I was trying to get up. And I remember it was 3 figures, right? There's one figure here, one figure there. And another one comes like at the foot of my bed, right? And I remember him shining a light. And they said he's not strong enough, and I kept on trying to get up, and I was like trying to look around, and I fall back, and then from that point, I remember coming back in from what I was last looking at, and then going back into my body here on Earth. I remember him saying something like, "Think of Elias." My son was young then; he's about like 3, and I remember saying, think of Elias or something like that. And all this seems like 5 minutes, but like he said, I was like in a full V, like contracted for, he said like took him like half an hour before he got anybody to help me.
Oh my gosh.
Because, at the time, I'm a black guy and he was like looking like he had long, like blonde hair, looking like a biker, So, and each time I went to look to see where I was at, I would just fall back into the seizure again, where like it would just be blank. I do remember being revived. They did the adrenaline, and I remember like grabbing all the medical staff and stuff. Like I had this gnarly like where they stuck me. Like I think they put some kind of pick in me, and they like inflamed my veins. It was bad news.
So you had the seizure. Do you feel like you crossed over to the other side, and they're like, "Dude, it's not your time yet.
Yeah.
Come back."
I felt like I wasn't strong enough. It felt like a tube of toothpaste, right? So I'm being rolled up. So that's probably like me visually, like like being contracted.
Your body being rolled up.
Yeah, but my legs weren't strong enough. I remember like thinking like my legs aren't strong enough, and I remember hearing like he's not strong enough. And when I heard that from where I was at in waking up in this area, they started to disappear. Like one would go and the next one would go and the next one would go. And then I kind of like went back into the light and like back down, It took me a long time to recover from that. I just was very spacey at the time. Like I thought my friend was Jesus, basically, because like I was asking him a bunch of questions, like, is it okay to go? Is it okay? Like,
so your friend in real life, or your friend during this experience?
My friend in real life.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was just kind of answering all my questions, and I guess that's when I seized up, and I was like, oh, it's okay to go. And then he said I started licking the park bench because we're like sitting, like park benches are, and you kind of put your butt on the table and your feet on the sitting part, and then I was going into there. So I thought he was Jesus for the longest time, and I just smiling at him, looking like, I know who you are, man. And the living situation back then, like he took us all in. I was homeless at the time, not at the time of the seizure, but like this is like maybe a year before. He kind of took me into his trailer, single wide trailer with an extension. He had like about 5 other people living there. And I was just like, oh, it's like the Jesus and the disciples. And like, I got really like, wrapped up into it. It wasn't until a while. I think this is like maybe 2 weeks after that incident. And I was at my friend's house and they were talking to me and they were like, man, we almost lost you. And they started to cry. And I was like, I was confused. And I was just like, oh shit. Like these cats care, like I never really had anybody like really care, like I've always kind of been like the oddball out, I've always painted my nails, always had long hair, so don't really fit into a lot of places like that,
Did you ever find out what caused the seizures, and do you still have them today?
No, it was the brain injury. I took this medication called nortriptyline, where they give you in this big old pack, right? So you take 7, you take 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 seizure. Then I had a seizure on like the last packs of it. But the key thing that saved my life is when I got this medication, it came in a big box. We were all sitting in the single wide trailer. I had all these big things. I was like, hey guys, I'm taking this medicine because, because I was having a seizure. And I had all my roommates, everybody there read it. And thank God for Mike Smith for actually reading it, so he knew what was going on, like he said it freaked him out, and this was all stemming from the car accident. I got in a car accident and then I had like a petite mal, like a little seizure, they call it, or a medium seizure at the hospital. My friend John Fugate picked me up from there. I went to the trailer. And then I fell asleep and I woke up and I still have these to this day. I have night terrors. I still have this to this day. I just kind of got up and I guess I was like, I hit my friend or something. And the next morning I couldn't talk. I could not talk. Like in my head, I'm thinking, say hello. I'm like, it was wild. And then I called my mom. I wasn't living with her at the time. And I called her to tell her I got in an accident because I was still on her insurance. And she's like, what the hell? Like, why are you talking like this? And I was like,
that's horrible.
Yeah, it was quite a journey. And those nurses were so freaking mean to me. Like, I remember being in the hospital because they did like a spine tap on me, all sorts of crazy stuff. And they're just like, oh, you got scared in your accident, didn't you? You got scared. And I was like, wanted to say screw you, but I couldn't spit it out. And I still remember being in the hospital and going to the bathroom late night, just after all my friends and family came and everybody left and you're just alone in the hospital room. It's very, very poignant. And I remember going to the bathroom. I was like sitting there in the dark, and I turned the light on, and I was looking into my own eyes. I was like, all right, Ellis, say what's up. I couldn't spit it out, and I was just really like, I really felt my spirit in that moment where I'm not my brain, I'm not my body, but I'm an entity possessing it, you know? Because like in my head, I'm thinking right, but then my mouth is not communicating right. And then with my hands, you know, you're just, you know, anytime I thought of it, my hand would just freak out. It was quite the crazy experience. I had like a few other episodes with it. And I will tell you actually, coming back into my color awakening, right? I learned color theory with you and taking your classes at Westwood College. Yeah. So I had another seizure at the now Bay Harbor Hospital, where it's at in Lomita, but it wasn't built yet. It was just like a construction thing. And I remember I was with my friends. This is after everybody moved out of the trailer, and it was just me and my homie, like the owner, and I was the cleanest one. I'm a clean freak. So I remember like wandering away. Same thing. I'm pulling apart the pure white light from the red light, and I just was like, I meant walking. I had no shoes on, and I was just kind of like, you know, went out there, had a bad seizure, and this one I remember. So as I was going under, I was like kind of pinned on a gate in the dirt, and I was kind of coming up, and there was like if you imagine a bunch of arcades, right? So I feel like I was coming up on a column. There was a whole bunch of just like figures, right? Just figures everywhere. Like we're talking like just heads. I can't tell male, female, whatever. But it was like a bunch of columns, right? A bunch of arcades, and then I can see like figures, right? Like off, but they're huge. They're huge, right? And you know, everything's above me, but I was kind of like, you know, like a little kid looks over a counter. That's how I was kind of feeling there. Like I just wasn't like quite there, you know, and I felt like I had a long way to go. There's a whole bunch of souls ahead of me. And I remember like falling back into there and having the seizure and snapping out of it and just kind of being there in the dirt and being like, what the hell, you know? And I'm like walking through Lomita, like the alleys and stuff to get there, and like not a cut on me, just dirty, you know? And by the time I got back to the trailer park, my friends were looking for me. They're like, where'd you go? And I was like, yo, I had a seizure. And they were just like, what? And yeah, and I went to, fast forward a whole bunch of years later, I go to this exhibit called Samsara, right? At the Wisdom in LA. And I go there and I see the representation of what I saw there. It was called the Journey of the Yogi. It's like a 3D movie, right? It's like all in 360. And I actually saw a representation of what I saw there when I had the seizure, and it changed my world.
How did it change it?
It changed it. It brought me into color. You can see a big representation in my artwork in Abstraction Universe from the seasons as they go on. It just bursts with color now. Now I'm like a bunch of colors, a bunch of like trippy fractal stuff, you know? It kind of just awoke me to color and everything like that. Seeing like, I actually had, what do you call it? Like proof of like, yeah, there is something. Like I did see that. I'm not tripping. Like I've never seen any kind of human representation of what I experienced on the second seizure.
Do you feel like the second seizure was some kind of like deja vu, or do you feel like it was an experience that you got to see another version of that or a representation of that, right? Because some people talk about deja vu, right? This could be an example of that, or is it something else?
This was something else because from the really bad grand mal seizure, like I was waking up in a room full of like beds, and then like I was like being taken somewhere else, you know, like and like almost inhabiting another vessel, you know, like I wasn't strong enough to like even fill out this vessel. This next one was more like I'm like in a whole like just arcades and it was just like a huge like just a lot of bodies and like I remember the arcades, just arcades everywhere, columns everywhere, and like these big figures above, and it was super trippy. Actually, on my Biz vlog number 1 and 2, I speak deeply about the experience and stuff like that, and I just was, it was just trippy, like I feel like now in my life is the cherry on top, like I should have been gone in 2004. I had another grand mal seizure in 2007, like.
So these seizures can lead to death.
Absolutely.
They're that severe.
I talked to my friend Raul. Now Raul was having seizures too, and around the same time we were both having seizures. I would have like little episodes because you have big ones, grand mal, then you have petite mal, and then everything in between, And I was talking to him about seizures. He's like, I had a seizure last week. We were talking about it, and I was telling him, from my experience, it feels like someone was tapping in with me from another realm, right? They're just kind of checking in with you. It feels like my soul was communicating with them, like you're actually being tethered, you know what I mean? And I was telling him about this, and I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I had a seizure at a show. Like I played a show, and I went out to get some air, and then next you know, like my brother was surrounding me. This was last week, and I talked to him the next week. He has another seizure, 2 weeks. Passes away.
Wow.
Yeah, that was Raul. Yeah, I remember that. I remember just being super tripped out, like at his funeral and everything like that. It was infinitely sad, but I felt like he was all right. I felt like he actually got the message. He got connected. He was strong enough to go where I wasn't.
Pretty sad work to do.
Yeah. I tried to make my youngest son, Apollo needed to come out.
Do you see these as like near-death experiences?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, do you remember conversations, or was it just an experience of you going through these arcades or these?
I don't remember hearing any words
other than you're not strong enough.
Yeah. Other than the first experience. Yeah. He's not strong enough. And that I thought, like, oh, maybe someone's talking to me, but it wasn't until I got my roommate's point of view of saying, like, he was telling me, like, he's like, no, you were out there for half an hour.
Wow.
All alone. Like, and he was very upset because the cop was like kind of sauntering over to me to think I'm some kind of junkie, like, oh, there's another junkie at the park, That's the only time I remember hearing any kind of like visual things. That particular experience, I kept on going in and out. Each time I want to look at something, like, say, with this water, I'm trying to read water, so I'm like, what? And I would just go into another seizure. I didn't really come to until I was like in, I think, some hospital, I think a little company in Marion, San Pedro, the catheter in, and they were pulling at my jewelry out of my nipple pierce at the time. I remember them trying to take it off and them playing with my package and trying to get the catheter in. And I remember like trying to like communicate with them. I would just like seize out again. It was heavy. It was pretty heavy. Yeah.
Have you had any more seizures since then, or is it?
I did. I had like petite malls. Like one I do remember. This was some years ago, but I remember like unplugging my Christmas lights in my apartment, and then I woke up. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like behind my entertainment center, and like I guess I hit my head on the thing. And as I was talking to my doctor about it, I had to see a neurologist for years, and they were just like, oh, probably had another seizure. And I was like, oh. I was like, all I remember is just getting up late, and they happened at odd hours. That's what tripped me out. Like this was like 2:00 in the morning. Where I'm just like, oh, I'm just unplug my Christmas lights, and then I come to. I'm just like, whoa. It was a long road. I've always been sensitive to like things like imps, I guess they call it, right?
What are those?
Like imps are like shadow creatures, right? From another dimension. Think of the movie Ghost, right? Where they kind of come up, they're kind of like almost to your like waist high, and they kind of move around. There's kind of shadow figures. I remember this is like, I'll take it all the way back. So, I know I'm jumping around here, but that's how my brain works. Sorry.
The Abstraction Universe.
The abstraction in here. But I remember the day before my father died, right? I had an argument with them, you know, like as most 6-year-olds do, you know. And I remember that night waking up and not waking up, but I remember him picking me up and holding me. And I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't, but I smell my father, know my father. He's picked me up. And then he puts me down, but I couldn't open my eyes. Next day, he passes away from a massive heart attack, right in front of me.
How old was he?
He was 46. Wow. Yeah, he was 46, yeah. And, he was on his weight bench, and that was it, you know. And after that, I felt like I got really disturbed at that time, you know, like there's no talking in the 80s. You're just kind of like 87, your dad died, whatever, you know, like put you in the corner. And I spent a lot of time alone, and I felt like there was a portal like left open in our house. Like after he passed away, we got robbed. He was a police officer before he passed away, and working as a veteran. He's working with the naval base at the time, you know. Because he had to retire from his blood pressure, I believe, working as a police officer. And I can imagine being a black man in the 80s working in the cops, you know. It was CHP. And I just kind of remember like a lot of episodes in the house. Like I remember like a lot of imps, a lot of like bad energy, so much depression in my house after he passed away, you know. Like in the 80s, they just gave my mother volume, you know. Well, someone died, give you some volume, you know. So she was, you know, doing her own journey. And I remember being left alone a lot, you know, just kind of sitting there with that, you know. And I don't know if it's like a kid's imagination, but I just remember just like a lot of his entity, a lot of like paranormal stuff, if you think about it. I still remember hearing a sound, looking outside my door, and seeing a guy with like a surfboard head, right? Like almost like, you know, the TC surf and design, you know, like those kind of like I don't know, like tiki faces or whatever. I remember one like going in a corner there. I remember like I'm already getting like goosebumps, but I remember like making my heart race, and I just stayed in my room. I was like, oh shit, you know, like I remember a lot of that happening in that house, in the childhood home, like especially after he passed away. And I remember being very like uneasy there. You know, especially the robberies didn't help, you know. And this is like going into the 90s, you know.
Was it in Wilmington or Harbor?
This is in Carson.
Carson.
This is in Carson, yeah. And I just remember a lot of just like a lot of disturbances like that growing up, you know, and just being like really hypersensitive to things and feeling presence, and you know, like someone's looking at me. Like, oh, that's weird, you know. And I think it's just that house, because I've had even more like into a grown man, you know, being at that house, having experiences there. Did
you ever have any experiences at the trailer?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it was me and my good friend. He was a drummer in Abstraction. Shout out to Edward Fugat. We were sitting, I was like on the ratty couch, super ratty, you know. And he was like on this recliner, and it was like all these occurrences would have like at 12, like that, right? So I would see a guy, and like we had like one of those really thin hallways, like they're about as broad as my shoulders, like it's real like small spot. And I remember seeing him there, and he would come across the hallway and kind of like walk a path. But the crazy thing is he wasn't on my level. Like he was like lower. So like it's just like his thighs. I would see his thighs up, you know, and I would see this figure walk past, and
so his legs were from the thighs down invisible, or you would
just like it was like on a different plane. Like I would see my floor, but then I would see his thighs. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of sunk down. You know.
And would you see his shoulders and head too?
Yeah, shoulder, head. You know.
And the trailer's sitting a little up off the ground, right?
Yeah, they're on bricks, right? So yeah, I remember seeing that, and a little girl each time, and we actually all seen this. It was like about 4 of us, 2:00 in the morning. Shout out to my friend Reggie. He was awake there. And yeah, we all saw it. And or, well, like you see that? Like, I see that. And we just.
Did they ever acknowledge you, or were they kind of just like recorded? Because there's one theory that these spirits or it's energy that's just recorded and then gets put on a loop.
Yeah.
And they're not intelligent. It's just energy that's displaying itself over and over and over again.
So here's the thing about the intelligent thing, Mike. I would say from the little girl we saw and the man that we saw that they seemed like they were on a loop for sure. Because it was always the same pattern. The guy would walk and the little girl would stay, but it would be like in different phases, right? I have another experience when I was living there all alone. And I finally got a room in the trailer park. Yes, I finally got a room because I was just sleeping on the couch for years, and this is actually like a lot of the night terrors I still suffer with today. I remember laying down and I had a lot of like sleep paralysis back then. I remember that guy, I perceived him as that guy, he looked at me, looking over at me as I slept. And I remember that. I remember like wanting to like, you feel like you have like all that energy to get up and just wake up, Ellis. Not getting up, I remember that. So that's why I would say, like, I don't know if they're like, I can see both theories of them being aware and not aware. He didn't say anything to me. He was just kind of looking over me. But back then I wasn't treating myself too well. I was getting into a lot of bad behaviors, not treating my body right at all. Like we're talking like acid and mushrooms and, going crazy. Go a little crazy when you have near death experiences. You got to find your way back.
You also mentioned an addiction to power energy drinks.
Oh yeah, man. I sure did. I got into this is like the early 2000s, like when they had like the new, the brand new Coke energy drink that had like the roots on the bottom of it. It's so gross. Ugh. Like the Rockstar energies. The Rockstars. I had a challenge to finish a Rockstar because I would finish halfway. I would want to puke. So yeah, I remember just doing that and Sobe, the Sobe energy drinks, right? I remember that one. Yeah, I did a lot of energy drinks back then too. Oh Lord, man, I'm happy to be here at this age.
You're one of the survivors.
Survivor of Sobe energy drinks.
and by the way, Sobe's not a sponsor for this podcast.
No. I always, I don't know if I can cuss on here, but like I was like a Sobe bitch. I couldn't even fucking finish it.
But eventually that has negative consequences for your health, right? Like
absolutely, 100%. I ended up in this is years later, after I got custody of my boys. I've been a single dad since 2015. They've been living with me. And I remember this before I got any child support or anything like that. I was just working Uber. I was working at a strip club as a strip club DJ, and I was working at a Quality Seafood out in Redondo. Shout out to Jeff out there and JR. So I was drinking energy drinks. Like that was my cheat code. I was like, oh, I'm tired drinking energy drink, and I actually like shout out to the people that were like, look at my Instagram stories or my Facebook stories, like, Ellis, you never sleep. EJ, what you always out, man. You always doing something. I was like, oh, I got to be on it. I tell you, Ed, I ended up in the cardiac unit for 1 week. Due to that, I collapsed at work. And and even after I collapsed after work, I still did not go to the hospital. I called my homegirl up, Anita, and got her. She gave me a nebulizer. Because I was like, I think I'm having an asthma attack. Like I wasn't born with asthma, but I developed asthma working as a diesel mechanic. So, like it was so stupid. So I remember like I didn't have medical insurance at the time, and I remember like going into like the Pollock building like in Hawthorne for like old people with no insurance, and they're like, Mr. Massey, I think you're having a heart attack. And I was like, and I'm always super sensitive on that because my father died so young from a heart attack, and this is, let's see, I had to be like 35 30 no 38. I was 38 at the time. Yeah. And ended up in the cardiac unit from all those damn energy drinks, and I haven't really touched them. I'll do 5-hour energy now. Like those things taste like death, But as far as like those rock stars, the Red Bulls, no me gusta. I cannot do it.
The cheat code has an expiration date.
Yeah,
right?
there's no cheat code. I do know this now. There's no magic pill. There's no there's nothing. There's no magic pill that kind of substitute sleep, eating well, water. There's nothing out there like that. There's no magic pill that'll make you just lose weight, unless it's, like dubious meth, But yeah. Oh, no good. Don't do those energy drinks at all.
How did Legendary Blythe Bizzczar come about? Is that your DJ name?
That was a name. That was a nickname I got. Like, I was always bizarre, right? So, like, I went from Mad Dog Massey, right? I was named Mad Dog because there's always like a scowl on me. And they're like, dude, you're always Mad Dogging. And growing up in Carson, a lot of gangsters and shit like that, So they'd be like, oh, you're always Mad Dogging and all this other stuff. And then I got Bizzczar, and then I was like, how about Bizzczar? I spell it Bizzczar. So it's like business czar. Because I was always like handling the money and stuff, like, doing like the groups. And I got Blythe early. So Blythe comes from, there's a video game on NES called Wizards and Warriors, right? Like, this is a super deep cut. And they had these Blythe boots, right? And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
So it's not the city that
No,
borders Arizona and California.
That is my city. Shout out to Blythe. Oh, and watch out for the speed trap going into there. It's for real.
And don't be bringing in any produce from Arizona.
No, you're cooked. Dragon fruit, they don't allow it. They do not allow it. But yeah, I got Blythe. So Blythe, looking it up, it means like merry and transiting spirit. So like,
which is the opposite of the city.
Yeah. The city is just,
or maybe the transient part. Maybe
transient. It's so crazy. Yeah, like so. Basically, like, Blythe means, like, your joy spreads onto other people's joy, and it makes you mellow, calm, and joyful. Like, you kind of like an infectious spirit. And that kind of just stuck with me. And I was like, I like Blythe better than Mad Dog Massey, Like, I'm not mad dogging people. I don't really care what people think, So that kind of stuck with me. So I was like, Blythe Bizzczar. And then the Legendary was just like, it comes from a lot of stuff. I think about it, right? So I have, like, songs. I always made songs, like little ditties. So... never forget, I was playing Ninja Gaiden 2 with my son. My son was at home sick. My son, Eli, shout out to Morphine Skin. He got sick, he threw up, and we're playing Ninja Gaiden, and there was this dinosaur on there, right? His older brother comes in, Jay Sean comes in, he's like, oh, he comes home from school, he's like, oh, and I finally get the game, right? I'm in the Matrix, I'm beating the game, doing well. He's like, did you beat this dinosaur? I was like, oh yeah, he was a mean man, a mean dinosaur. So that's where that came from. He's a mean man, mean dinosaur. He's a mean man. I always want to make my kids laugh. Like that's my thing is making them laugh, And I recorded that song. My friend heard it. He brings it down to San Francisco. Brings it down to San Diego to Vista Escondido area. They form a band over that song called Mean Dinosaur. And is off of my song, wow. Mean Dinosaur. I made just like a little ditty.
Any royalties off that?
No royalties. They toured. They have an album. Shout out to Mean Dinosaur and all that. But no, yeah. So there's like a lot of things I'm just involved with, like just making music, and then we get stolen. Like there's a group called Public Announcement. They might have taken a couple things from me. So I always say Legendary because like I was like, if you look behind the scenes, I had like a little touch in every single thing. Like almost like a Forrest Gump thing. Like, oh, you know where that came from? It came from Ellis trying to make his kids laugh. It came from EJ over here. Like so I always had like the legendary thing in there because I was always kind of like putting my 2 cents in there. And they might not know you, but I can feel like proud of like, yeah, man, like I had some involvement in that. Oh wow. And then you just break it down to them. They're like, oh wow, like a walking myth, So I always like the Legendary Blythe Bizzczar. It's such a long ass name, But it's kind of stuck, I got it tatted on my skin, so it's mine.
I've also been following your social media, and you also like to cosplay.
Yeah, sure.
What's that about?
Cosplaying is so great. So I got into costuming like in, I would say 99. I think it was 99. Yeah, 99. I got into cosplay in college and working at International Costumes. Shout out to Fritz. And the whole fam blam there. And I got into costuming like there and just kind of, I didn't know anybody even dressed up for Halloween back then, and I would see these amazing, like this old costumes from like the 70s. It's like ratty, and they're like, oh, we're throwing this out. Like, no, I'll keep it. A lot of the clothes I wear when I do cosplay, I have a cosplay called Vamp Biz. I had silver fangs. I wore silver fangs for over 9 years, pure silver. Like, I love silver, I had them made, and I just wear them all the time, and that was just me. I just wore fangs all the time, and I just kind of like got into the cosplaying community, actually, my claim to fame, as I call myself, the Legendary Blythe Bizzczar, I did I worked with Black Dynamite, the whole Pimp Council scene with Bokeem Woodbine, John Sally, Cedric Yarborough, all those guys. I actually costumed that whole entire scene right there, the Pimp Council, So and I did Flavor of Love the last season when he was like picking out his honey dip, like, oh yeah, So I costumed that. So I got really into costuming, did countless plays, worked with my friend Kat, rest in peace, and I just got really into costuming. I love history and stuff. So all that stuff all mixes together. And when I found like you could go out and have the whole community of just cosplayers and, and I thought it was very, very beautiful too. Like to see like the alternative life, you don't see a lot of that in Carson. I've always been, like the guy that walks around with like his nails painted and stuff like that. And you kind of oddball out. And then you go to like these costumers and you're like, oh, you see like some people that are into something that you're into, and you're just like,
you fit right in.
Yeah, you kind of fit right in, like, and there's some people that are really deep into it. Like I want to say I'm that deep into it, but like I do enjoy.
Yeah, like the question is it on all the time or can you turn it on and off, right?
You know what? That's the curious thing about it, like even I don't want to misspeak here, but the cosplay community, there's a community, right? So this community, they can be judgmental as any community, right? As any high school. There's a lot of counseling out there, and there's a lot of creepos out there, right? And it kind of really helped me understand what goes on with the cosplayers. Like you got those guys that are just taking pictures of the cosplayer without asking them permission. Guys trying to get the butt shot, and they're not asking permission. Like I really made me understand like the female perspective a lot with cosplay. Actually, a lot of stuff I didn't really think about, and just being put onto spectacle. I'm used to being stared at any place I go. I always get stared at. I can't steal shit. I don't steal, but I'm just saying, like,
not even Beats.
Not even Beats, man. I can't even beat bite, But it really. It's so funny too, like with the cosplaying thing, a lot of people are like, who are you dressed as? And I was like,
the Legendary Blythe Bizzczar.
Yeah, I'm just myself. Yeah, I'm just myself. I wear tabby boots everywhere I go, like I just love being comfortable, All I do is put on a ratty jacket, put some contacts in my eyes. Here I am. I'm a character.
I also saw a post that was like a black community of cosplayers.
Yeah.
What's that about?
So in the cosplay community, what's really unfortunate about it is like, say, I really like the character of Superman, right? So I want to dress up as Superman. I dress up as Superman, and then people come up, oh, what are you, the black Superman? You're like, no, I'm Superman. No, you're the black Superman, though. Like, you're not the real Superman. Like, no one's the real Superman. He doesn't exist, right? Like,
he's an alien.
He's an alien, right? He's not even human. No, he's white. I'm like, what? No, like, so a lot of that, you get a lot of that, and I've actually experienced so many like bad things just being around these people, like where they're like, sorry to say, but it's white guys that are just like, is that your real hair? Like if a cosplayer has a big wig on, is that your real hair? And they want to touch it. And I've seen this shit. I just been like, whoa. Like I was like, I guess it is a huge problem, and it kind of makes us feel like we're not part of it. Like we're we're not part of it. Like, no. You're the black Superman. Go over here. The real Superman. You go over here. This guy. Oh, he's got it. Like, it's like it would be this costume would be perfect if you're white, you know. It's dead ass like that, you know, like it's really bad. So cosplaying, the black cosplayer, I don't want to speak for the whole entire thing, but it's real inclusive. Of course, it has its pits and pawls, and like any community does. But it's about inclusion. You're welcome here. You're okay. Like you can dress up like this character. You don't have to paint yourself white to be Superman. Just like you don't have to paint yourself black to be Black Panther. You know, you can just wear the costume. You can just be the character. And I really love the inclusion in that. You know, because it really is. It can get pretty shaky, especially in the cosplayer thing, like where you feel like an outsider and they kind of like, you know, like, you guys go over here, or you're not being recognized. Give me all the Supermans over here, all the Supermans. No. Wait. No. Just the Superman, not you. You know.
I remember early on when I came to LA, we went to Thai Town and saw Thai Elvis. And that was a moment when I saw like the copy break away from the original and became its own original. Right. So it's Thai Elvis was so different and unique and in a lot of ways better than the real Elvis.
Yeah.
That it's the moment when the copy becomes the original and the copy has gone so far away from its source.
Yeah.
That it becomes something new and unique and different.
Exactly.
Like that's.
It's poignant too. Like, just like I think in the art world, if you change things 7 ways, it's original, right? I think it's 7. Right.
Well, I mean, maybe in a court of law, you can maybe 20% change here and there, but you know, the art world is it's filled with a bunch of thieves and people who steal and appropriate, and you know, the ready-made is just this method of just grabbing something that's already manufactured and you magically turn it into a work of art because you have artistic intent.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like Maurizio Cattelan is famous for doing stuff where he just appropriates and takes, and Picasso's famous quote saying that, you know, great artists steal, and he stole everything from previous artists.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's what you can get away with.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful. I think it's so beautiful because it becomes a thing of its own. You know, like you can see a character like what's the one I saw that was absolutely gorgeous. It was Harley Quinn. Yeah, it seemed like it wasn't Harley Quinn. It was like most people are like, oh, it's a black Harley Quinn. Like, no, it's just Harley Quinn. Like that's another version. Like if these characters all have different universes, why can't she be of Nubian descent? You know what I mean? Or Chicano or like whatever, where the hell? You know, I know Chicano's not ethnicity, but I'm just saying like, you know, it could be anywhere. Like we're all talking fantasy here. You know?
The latest Spider-Man animated movie, right? Where it's the multiverse. Yeah. Where he runs into a female version of him, or the version of him that's from India. Yeah. The high-tech version.
Heck yeah.
And it's all the different possibilities that Spider-Man can inhabit.
Yeah, and they're all controlled by Madam Web.
It's the source code.
The source code, yeah. And it's just so, I love to see that, man. Like, and it wasn't until you're really deep down in it. I would say for anybody that does not understand, dress up as a traditionally, like dress up as Aquaman and be of like Mexican descent or some shit. And be like, oh, well, you know, like, you Mexican, you know, you come from Baja, like you hear all sorts of this sliding stuff, and they really try to separate you. It's really sad, actually. They really try to like, oh, you're like me, but like a version. You know, you're not me. You know, I'm the real Superman. I'm the real Aquaman. You know, you're the Mexican Aquaman. You know, it's like, what the hell? Like, why can't we all be Aquaman? Like, what does it even matter? You know. So that's why I like the black cosplayer community, because it's like a good recognition of like, hey, these are real artists. These are real artists. They're making their costumes from the ground up. You know, we have artists like I know his Instagram handle, the Black Bob Ross. You know, like
that's awesome.
He's making his own costumes like from the ground up.
And then instead of like landscapes, he's showing like street scenes or something.
Yeah. He's just like, and he's
neighborhood
doing everything, you know, and a lot of times, like, yeah, they want to pigeonhole you. They want to compartmentalize you. You know, they want to like, oh, you're over here. You're not part of the mainstream, but you're like over here. You know, like even with the things like I remember people being upset with Black Panther. Like, I remember this little girl asked, it wasn't a little girl. It was a mother asked me, she's like, oh, my son wants to be Black Panther, but, we can't do that, I was like, why can't you do that? Your son can be Black Panther. Who cares if he's a white? Who cares? He's Black Panther. He's a cool-ass character, Oh, no, but he's black, Like, I'm pretty sure you ran across a lot of people when they say, oh, like, it's like, oh, he's a black dude. Like, he's a black guy. They got the extra L in it. Black, he's Mexican. Like, oof.
I trip out over pictures of Jesus, paintings of Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? Because as a kid, I always looked at, was it white European Nordic Jesus with blonde hair and blue eyes? And then I, looked at the color of my skin or the color of my eyes. I'm like, well, it's not. That's not my Jesus, but I guess that's Jesus, right? And then you see other Jesus that are more indigenous looking or ethnic looking, and then there's black Jesus and Indian Jesus, and there's the I don't have yet to see like a Middle Eastern Jesus, but I'm sure there's one out there.
Oh yeah,
or even like Buddy Christ for the Kevin Smith movie where they had their own version of Jesus, and he was like a Buddy Christ version.
Alanis Morissette or something.
Morissette was it. But if you look at, we don't really have a time machine, so we don't really know what Jesus looked like.
No.
But I'm, probably pretty sure he wasn't Northern European.
No,
Right?
I don't think so. It seems like out of place.
Of place. But they're designed in a specific way to work, specifically for a community or population.
I think it's a control thing,
and it's I
really think it is. It's just like it's sort of like the Black Santa Claus, right?
Black Santa Claus.
But of course, you get all the funny jokes like, oh, you bring your presents on the 26th, So like I think it's like all of it a control thing. It's so crazy. Like why is that the standard? Why is that the standard? I think that's the question there. Like, why is this white Jesus the standard? And who made this? And you go all the way back to like corrupt popes, and they just use that all for control. It's all for a man's mold, not God's mold, but man's mold. I do this so you guys can understand it. Don't freak out. I don't want you to get freaked out that Jesus maybe have a olive skin and hair of wool. Like, we have to make it like more. I think it's just subjugation. You know what I mean? Like and whoever wants to be the top of the food chain, right? I can even put it to like the white Superman versus the black Superman, right? I'm real Superman. You're subservient to me. So like I'm top, you're bottom, and you can follow me now. I think that's kind of how they kind of wrap it out. It's like a lot of subjugation in that, Yeah. And I really, I hate to like correlate Jesus and cosplay and all that stuff like that, but like it seems like the same thing.
Well, it's in Baudrillard even talks about this, where we're at a point now that there's so many copies of Jesus and copies and copies and copies of images, representations, and paintings of Jesus that the original is long gone. Like we have no access to that to begin with. So all we have to go off of are copies of copies of copies.
Yeah, the legend, right? The legend of Jesus, the legendary. Yes, exactly. Like you can see, like you can listen to Mean Dinosaur. You're like, oh, that's a dope ass group. Like, dude, have you heard the original Mean Dinosaur song?
Go back to the source code.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think it's not like it gets bastardized or anything like that. It's just like it's like a version, Like it's sort of like how you think of like Lee Scratch Perry, right? Take it to reggae music, right? So they have a genre called dub, right? So basically, dub is you're making music out of nothing, right? So if I hit the table once, pop, 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 but then I put an echo on it, pop, 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 right? And off of one sound, but I'm singing off of the echo, right? And then you can build off the echo. I think that's how like legends are saying. Like it's like a ripple, right, in the water, and then people can ride the ripple from here, and they can go over there, and then go over there with it. Like with different music, right? Just like an artist would take a original song like "Pretty Woman," And then they can take that riff and then sing about their dog, or they can take that riff and sing about I don't know, a shelf, I don't know, something like that. But it's like a ripple, you know. There's an initial inspiration, right? And I think they always try to define that inspiration. That was a white Caucasian Jesus inspiration, and it dripped onto the water, and now we got black Jesus, we got Arab Jesus, we got Palestine, you know, like they go off, like they just seem like they're echoes, but then it kind of dilutes it, you know what I mean? Like there's always some kind of like superiority angle behind it, you know what I mean? Like oh, that's black Jesus, like black Jesus, you know, like.
And the truth is whatever they tell you it is.
Yeah, it seems very strange that we talk about Jesus, but then you look at the story of Horus and it's the same freaking story.
Mithras.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh wait, Horus was white, right? In Egypt, right? Oh, Egypt's in Africa. Nah, he was white. We all seen Elon Musk. He's from Africa, right? Like it's like come on, man. Like I think it's just so funny, man. I think it's just human like understanding. They're trying to like make a mass understanding. Like if I don't understand it, that means you don't understand it. So I'm gonna help you guys understand it.
And there's no such thing as a master narrative.
No,
there's no one narrative to explain it all.
Yeah,
we're I guess existing in the ripples or in the echoes of, and the source is long gone and
for sure. And then they always want to be like, hey, can we all agree that Jesus was white? You know, like let's start off from there before we start talking like if his miracles were real or not, or if he actually raised from the dead. Let's see. He was white, right? Obviously. It's just like, what? I kind of remember, like, I grew up going to a Foursquare church. Shout out to Gateway Fellowship. But, like, yeah, I remember, like, the whole thing. I was chaplain for years. I did sound. So I would do sound for all these, like, we're talking like, I don't remember these cults, but they're cults. Like there's one with, they all wore, I have the thing in my head, like, 'cause I was set up for them. They had the big rainbow balloon, like a big air balloon, hot air balloon. And they all had denim on and they would all like sing but they were a cult and they did like gay conversions and stuff like that. And it was just so weird to me of how they would like bring people in. Like, right? So they would there's a lot of gay conversion, which is like, it was so sad, like just in retrospect, you know. But these were cults and they would beat people and they would hurt people, but they would wrangle them into one thing, white Jesus, right? You believe in white Jesus, he's right there. He's real. He's for real. Don't you believe him? You want to be him? You know what? White Jesus doesn't like gays. You know, like let me help you. And then they would start adulterating and abusing these people and these men, these women, and all sorts, and just kind of like making them mold out of the white Jesus. This is perfect, you know. And it's no longer an echo. It's like they're drowning, right? Like they're bringing them down instead of sending them out, you know. And when you're going down and not out, you're kind of burying it, right? Bury yourself, and you can cover yourself in the blood of Jesus, of white Jesus. You know, you know, like say, I die right now, my soul is a white man. You know, like what the hell? Is there a black section of heaven? Is there a black section of hell?
It's all segregated when you get over there.
Yeah, exactly, right? This is the way it's supposed to be. You feel more comfortable, right? Like, come on, man. I think that's, you know what? I think about that deeply. Just my own experience of being like trapped in my body, right? I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. I felt like I was trapped in my body, right? I felt like I was like a shell, right? Like I feel my spirit. My brain is separate from my spirit now. I can feel it because like most people are like, oh, we're our brains. We're not our brains, right? We're like in there. We're interwoven in there, you know? So I rather sooner believe that there's a spirit energy. I think we're just created energy. How I think now, I think a little differently from my near-death experiences. I think we're just a collection of energies, right? We're all collected and we're just kind of floating around on this celestial sphere, right? We meet people for a reason, for a season, like in an elliptical pattern, right? And then sometimes you revolve around people. It could be 10 years, 12 years, and then you guys just kind of fade away. They do their own thing. You never see them again, right? And a lot of people like want to hold on to that. No, you stay with me. When instead letting the whole natural ripple of life happen. Like, yeah, you go. Like as much as I love my sons, I want them all to be around me, but that would not be fair to me or them to like, have them in the attic, flowers in the attic or something, like just stay there, like this is for your own good. This is my thoughts. This is what it is here. This is white Jesus. This is only white Superman. That's it, like, and this is what's going to keep you safe. And you keep on this straight, narrow path, you got it, I don't think that's fair at all. I believe that we're all just a collection of energies. And when we pass from here, we can either disperse, and then we have a bunch of particles out there, and then you can come back together or not. I believe this. I think from what I saw, if I go back to Journey of the Yogi, right? So they said this realm of Earth is the only realm of Earth where your karma can be instantly cashed in or cashed out, right? And you can be recycled back into there, right? So this is a realm of recycling, but there's more realms above and below us, right? Hypothetically, right? So I was really curious on the Journey of the Yogi when they said that like you could be trapped in the era of recycling, where you can be like, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna get back. I have unfinished business, right? I've always thought in my head that the people that you have the most difficult time with are the people that you never really understood in your former life, right? I can say like my family, like I never got along with my sister. Like, well, what the hell is that? It might have been somebody that you didn't get along with, or a spirit or something like. And you guys, until you learn this, till you figure out this puzzle, till you can learn to either separate, figure out, or consolidate, or be at peace with it, you're to keep on getting recycled, and until you figure it out. That's why I truly feel in my heart.
Like Groundhog Day.
Yes, exactly. And it just trips me out. Like I hate to say that, like, I think differently, but I really do. It took me a while, even after all my near death and rehab and stuff like that, of just coming back down to this earth and start believing what they're telling me. I remember Dorothy Sharp, rest in peace to Dorothy Sharp. She was telling me, I was sitting in the church and she was like, hey, how do you know you're going to heaven? I was like, I know I'm going to heaven, right? And she's like, how do you know? I was like, yeah, like I did so many plays and where they like just hold your heart, pray right now. If you never accept Jesus Christ as your Lord or Savior, you do right now. And I was like, yeah, like 7 people raised their hand. That's because of my singing. I sang and now they're converted. So I know I'm going to heaven. She's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. And then I was like, that's my standard, right? I'm probably not going to meet her standard. Her standard, she was like a missionary. She went out to Guatemala and Mexico all the time, and bringing kids back and stuff like that. Maybe that's her mission. My mission is different. In my head, my mission's done. I'm good, like
Check.
Yeah, exactly. Like like no one can ever live up to the painting that you picture, like the painting of other people, right? You can never live up to that, right? Like it's just like like our kids or something like that. Like, hey, you're supposed to be a king here. I named you after Apollo, the music god, the god of love and music, and all this stuff like that. You're the sun god. That's who you are. That's what you are, and that's what you're trying to fill in to be. But what if he's not? What if he's just Apollo? He's just himself, right? And he can do whatever he wants to fit into it. Like to put people in a bubble, to give people a roof, to give people a limit, I think is a huge disservice. I really believe in my heart it is. I think you should reel it in. You taught me that. With my artwork, I reel it in. Side note: I remember my first video, young Biz Coppola, and I was doing like a zombie thing or something with what was it, like Walking Dead was brand new at the time, and I remember looking at all these images. And then I think I started getting into like real life, like cartel shit or something. I was like, whoa, like, is this real or fake? And I just got wrapped up in it. And I remember you coming by my computer. You're like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, how about you reel it in? I still have those words echoing in my head with every single video. I've made hundreds of videos, and I still have that in my head. Like, whoa.
Yeah, it's funny because every now and then I'll teach like a Photoshop class and I'll be like, yeah, you can throw 40 filters on this picture.
Yeah.
But do you need 40 filters on a picture, right? Like, just because you can, does it really mean you should?
Yeah. And
sometimes, yeah, maybe, but maybe not all the time.
Yeah, maybe technology's not ready for all that. I think about those layers now. Like I have a composition that it's like 30 gigs now. And I'm going to release it for my 6-year anniversary of Abstraction Universe, and it's taken forever to come out. Like I've tried to like do this and do that and get it to spit out, and I call it the lecture curse. You make this work of art, you're like, yes, that's what it is. And I go to spit it out, too many layers. The damn composition's 121 gigs.
Crashes the computer.
And I do one change, and then like I want to like it never comes out. So what I have been doing is I just take the compositions, right, and I spit them out, and then I re-enter them as just movie files, right? I simplify it. I reduce it. It may not be as bright and as crazy as it is, but only I notice that. If you look at the composition, like, oh, that looks brilliant. That's brilliant. It's brilliant. But I can ninny pick it. No. I like that's a different. I had to compress the file and do all the stuff like that and explain it away. But then that kind of kills it. Why don't you have your own interpretation of it? Like this is what I did to get it to come out. And you have to be okay with that. Like I think that's another difficult thing with art is I think we're our worst critic, right? Or like I have legit called off work working on a piece of music, recorded it, perfected it, 3:00, erased it, and it like never come out, and I was like, dude, I lost work. I think I was getting
gone forever.
I think I was getting like $64 a day at that point. Getting $5 an hour or something back then, And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, geez, man, like I think I'm overthinking it. I think it's too much, but then like I want to put more on it because you want to be that. Yes, like that. I want to have it echo. I want to be. This is why they called me legendary. I was able to make this 125 gig thing, and everybody's gonna see every single lightning bolt, the timing, the vocal cues, everything, because I've worked so hard on it. They will notice that. But sometimes they see something differently. Oh, do you see that dog? Like, a dog? Like, oh, yeah. This is a piece of it. Like, it's like some throwaway, like, stock footage you put in there or something like that. Like, I really like that dog. The dog was cute. You're like, you didn't see all those colors I put in there? The lightning bolt, like, struck, and it went from yellow, black, red, blue, and then it went away green. And then I started talking about the color green. You didn't see that? No. We were like, oh, well.
That was one heck of a dog, though.
One heck of a dog, yeah.
Next time it'll be cats.
Exactly. And like, it's always tripped me out, man. Like, I really appreciate like people like you coming into my life. I didn't get back into college until I was 30. And to finish my degree and stuff like that, and just meeting you and learning that I had this strength in video editing and composing. Like I didn't even know. I had no idea. Play the guitar. Like that was my thing. I can rip and shred. Like, but then like to find these different things and start digging into life. Like when you think you got it all good, you're 30. I'm 30 years old. I know everything, right? But you start digging deep into your life, and you're like, oh.
And this was before social media, right?
This was before social media.
When it was, YouTube had just taken off, and now it's so easy to get an audience, an international audience, and you can really, use these different applications to really put your work out there.
Yeah,
in many different ways. So, how can people find you?
You can find me under at Blythe Bizzczar on Instagram, on X. And at Abstraction Universe. Abstraction Universe is my company there, and all that artwork that comes from my brain. That's like where I can do my fine art. I would say I'm a fine artist, and that's where you can see what goes in my brain. Pop culture, I'm using Miami Vice fonts and little blurbs and Predator, like you son of a bitch. Like I remember we were like stuck on that for a while, stuff that just goes flying through my mind. I can like download it and just put it into this art project and not worry about it. Like I used to worry about like, copyright because you can use like 2 seconds of something, right? I can work months on a composition and I can put like 2 seconds of like of a Prince song, and then, nope, they own the whole entire thing. And they just bother me. And I was like, well, why do I need that 2 seconds? Why can't I flip it and make it original? Change it 7 ways. Sometimes that doesn't work, like just make it original or cut it out. Maybe do more deleting and less saving on this project, or just leave it out, like I don't think I'm going to make $1 million off it. I would love to, but I love to put out something like Abstraction Universe that may outlive me. I don't know how long YouTube servers are going to be around, but like I hoping it's going to be within like beyond my lifespan or is going to inspire somebody.
It's funny because I think about the future and alien civilizations landing on this planet, looking at the 21st century and being like, "Yo, you guys didn't do anything. You didn't take pictures. You didn't take videos.
Yeah."
You had these boxes that look like it could have worked, but the hard drives don't work. So
yeah, and they're like, "What is this?"
When we look at like the pyramids, or we look at even just photographs, we have that document, right? Just a piece of paper with an image on it.
Yeah.
But now, like everything's in the cloud, and what does that look like? And
that looks
will that survive the solar flare, right? Or something?
It won't. Like if you think about it, right? So I've lived enough to record on cassette, CD, and hard drives, zip disk, and flash drives, right? And I've looked into my old art, and I go like, oh my God, I have my thesis on here. Let me check it out. My pins inside my flash drive are rusted. I didn't think about that. Like, I didn't think about moisture control, and like I just had it in this nice box, like I put it in a cigar box, and then you don't think about like degradation of it at all, Then I was like, well, did that even happen? Like, so like the alien race does come down here. They check it out. They're like, oh, they open up our, like the time capsules, right? And there's a zip disk in there, and they're like, cool. How do I play this? Like, like is there
as it crumbles in their hands?
Yeah, as it crumbles in their hands. Do they eat it? Is it a food? Is it like, and how do they know how to access the cloud? I sincerely believe all this stuff with the cloud, everything like that, it's being monitored. Like, come on, we live in America. Like, we're being monitored. We're being recorded. We're being sold, right? America has been the only nation that thought to keep their citizens long enough to milk them longer. You get more money the more your citizens are alive, right? You don't let them have access to that, right? These are federal tokens of money. Like, we don't own it. We just have it. It's just ours for the day, right? So I truly believe that we're being like milked. Like, you ever have an idea, Ed, and you're like, oh man, that'd be so funny, or have a song in your head, and then the song pops up like out of the blue, you're just like, it could be like Final Destination. You start hearing like John Denver, Rocky Mountain High. You're like, whoa, like I was just thinking about that song, I truly believe like we are such powerful beings. Humans are. We're water and electricity perfectly mixed, right? And consciousness. And I think we're such powerful beings that they seek to dumb us down, to mute us, to suffocate, control. Yeah. They're like, and it reminds me of like, I used to take pictures. When I was taking a photo class, and I would go into my son's preschool, and I would do like their Christmas plays and shoot, and help them out with the kids. And these kids were just in cages. And they sound crazy. Humans sound crazy, right? Like I live next door to an elementary school, the playground, and I work nights. And during the day, I'm just like, bah, 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 all this crazy stuff. I'm just like, yo, well, so what if we never put these kids in cages, right? Schools look like prisons. Prisons look like schools. If you look at the design of it look like I did like a lot of boys and girls club, right? And it looks like a prison, right? And I like look at the, like the Locked Up, like the 30 Days In or whatever the hell that show is. It looks like the same exact furniture, the same exact tables in a prison. And it's hilarious to me. I was like, I think we're just being corralled. We're being corralled. You don't want to be too crazy because kids can be crazy, right? So you want to have them in this, they're trying to get them in this line. They're trying to corral them. And now they're trying to take information out of it, right? If you looked up, you talk about, like, we all heard about this. You talk about lawnmowers or something. Next thing you know, on your cell phone,
like kitty litter. If you don't even need a cat, and you start talking about kitty litter, see how many ads pop up, right?
Yes, exactly.
We'll
like
probably get some tonight.
Cat videos, yeah. Like I worked, as I mentioned before, I worked as a diesel mechanic a lot of my life, and it was I need a kitty litter to like pick up some oil or something like that. And I'm getting cat videos, and I'm getting like Fresh Step and stuff like that. And then in my head, I'm thinking like, oh wait, I don't need Johnny Cat from the 99-cent store. I can get Fresh Step and put it on this oil. Like, no, what am I thinking? Let's get Johnny Cat and smash it with my finger. Like it's so crazy, like how they're always trying to sell, and have you buy life, buy comfort, buy this, buy that. And I will tell you this: it may be like a little dark, but I'll give you some background. So I had post-concussive syndrome. It's a brain injury. It took about 3 years for my brain to heal. And during that time, I would get depressed. Depression, it happens, right? Get depressed, and get down in the dumps, and you're just kind of like, what do I do? And you're searching for anything, And I felt like I was the most depressed when I had the most money. Where I can go out and buy what I want, right? I can buy what I want. I felt so depressed. I felt so empty. Because I can go out and buy what I want, right? I remember, I will never forget this day. I went out. My sons were at my mom's, so I went out and I went driving. And then I happened upon the Wisdom. It was like these igloos out in LA, right, in the art district. I just wandered in there. I literally wandered in there. They're like $30, and I was like, I got $30. Here you go. Boop. Went in there, and what I got out of that was, I would say, the next almost 10 years of my life now of like being into fractals and doing colors, and it helped my art so much. But I will never ever forget how I was feeling that day. I was literally at Home Depot looking at chains and ropes and like, like getting freaky on it. I remember taking a picture of it. So I took a picture of it because I was like, I want to remember how I feel right now so I can come above. This is my rock bottom, right? And I would never forget that. I will never forget that photo I took of those chains and that rope. I will never forget how I felt and my awakening of that, my refreshment from that. I think if you're always denying yourself, I'm not depressed, I'm not sad, I'm not this, no, you have to feel that. It's so intricately human. I love feeling human. I love feeling sad. I love feeling like depressed, like, and recognizing it. You know what I mean? Like, not like, no, you're going through, you're like, but like when you start, you're like, oh wait, I think I'm sad today, or like I'll think of my dad, I still cry. I think about all the friends I lost. I still cry. That's fine. Let it out. You can't keep it in there. Like keep it in there, it would rot you away. You can keep meat in the refrigerator, but how long can you keep that meat? It's going to rot anyway, right? You got to take it out, And I think that's with art, with my art, it's the realization of it, and it has to wash through me. I'd make a lot of celebration life videos, and with these celebration life videos, they're very personal. I usually go through the person's like Instagram or their playlist or something, music that they listen to or their friends that listen to, like memories, stuff that really connects. We're talking like the tentacles that connect us and make it so personal that it's their celebration of life. No matter what it is, it's personal to them and it'll go forever. I think it's super important to recognize these points in life and bring them out, and especially like to uplift them, like, oh, you remember that time when we were driving back from Vegas and we were listening to, I don't know, Steely Dan the whole time, I was listening to Black Cow. Remember that? Oh, that was crazy, And then you put that in their celebration life video, and then that person feels it. And then I think that's the best way to honor people, is to actually recognize and actually make not a milestone of it. It's like a picture, right? You look at a picture, it doesn't mean anything. Like, why'd you take a picture of these ropes? Yo, I was falling down in the dumps. I wanted to buy everything and nothing at the same time. I wanted to buy everything so bad I wanted to buy the farm. You know what I mean? And then, but you have these like moments, and you capture them, you possess them. You're like, all right, I take power over what I'm feeling right now. I think I'm beyond this. Like, this is a part of me, but this is not all of me, right? Because it's just like, I think it's Kant. If I want to say if like you're denying your shadow, it'll
Carl Jung.
Carl Jung. If you deny your shadow, it will overcome you, right? It's just like people. I hate to get political, but the Republican National Convention, right? They're all anti-gay and stuff like that, but the Grindr app is going nuts during the National Convention, but they're also anti-gay. And you're like, well, why is my Grindr app crashing? It's some wild stuff, and they just deny themselves until they overbecome, and then they become faceless cowards. You know what I mean? I think it's like, if you keep on denying, and trying to like shut down your shadow self, you don't confront it, you don't embrace it. That is me. Like
Having that balance.
Yeah, you need balance. Like you can't be all light, like dude, man, you got drunk and started like getting crazy, Like I seen a lot of people like here's one thing that's always blown my mind. This may be a little off subject. But when people get drunk and they start throwing out the N-bomb or something like that, it gets super racist. You're like, whoa, bro. Like I've never in my life got that drunk to be like yelling out racial epithets or anything like that. Because I know myself. I don't want to lose myself. But I think there's people that suppress it so long, then it explodes. And then that wasn't me. I was blacked out. I'm like, dude, you said some pretty radical stuff. Oh, no, and then you start seeing that face, that politician face, accept me from who I am, I think it's so important for everybody to embrace it, not in a point like just like drown deep into it, but to recognize it, like maybe I should address this part of my head, like why am I thinking like this, or why is this here,
I think of the yin yang symbol, right? And the curve that has the white shape, there's a little black dot,
yeah,
right? And then the black curve has a little white dot in it, and
yeah, together
they have that balance.
Yes, you need that balance.
You need that balance,
because if not, you can go into some pretty depraved stuff, like honestly, and if you don't recognize that, you don't absorb it and like look at it. It's sort of like what was it, Joker? Look at me. Whoa, this guy's crazy. But then like you look at him, then you're like, oh, wait a minute. It's not this haunting voice. It's not this guy that's giving me like these devious plans anymore. It's just a man, a scarred man. He's got ideas. I got ideas. Cool. We have ideas. And then you can go on from there. But if you like let that boogeyman there rest and rot and grow, it will overcome you. And there's so many people in my personal life that their shadow self has taken over them. Should I say unalive themselves? I've had a couple of friends unalive themselves last year. 2, back to back. I lost 4 friends within a 3-month period of last year. And I was talking to my friend Dawn, rest in peace. She was texting me as she was taking her fatal doses. And I saw that conversation on my Facebook, right? Because it's how we communicated. And it's a long conversation as she's ODing. Towards the end, she was very much speaking to me about her lamenting. She had a crush on a guy. She introduced him to illicit drugs they were doing. He ended up dying from those illicit drugs. Towards our last conversation, she was telling me about all of her regrets, and she was kind of like, we have our dark history too together, with these illicit substances. And I think she was just really like lamenting. She had like a lament over it. She's like, oh, this is my fault and my fault. And I was telling her, I was like, no, I was like, cause she actually had an overdose like in 2004. 2004. And I was making a joke to her. I was like, you don't want to be a ghost in 2024, just like you didn't want to be a ghost in 2004. And she texted me the ghost symbol. I was like one of the last things she like texted me for like some other stuff. And I remember being like blown away because I didn't hear from her for like maybe 5 days, and then 7 days we find out, And I was counting back the days, and I was like, wait a minute, she was ODing then. She was taking her final doses. And I think if she didn't really express herself and accept her past and stuff like that, it kind of hit her like a ton of bricks. It's sort of like you're sticking your fingers in the dam and you're using magical putty or whatever the hell, and then it just overcomes you. She was blocking her shadow that much. So when that shadow was like, no, this is what happened, this is the truth, it hit her like a ton of bricks. There's a lot of regret from my friend group. They're like, oh, we didn't know, and if I would have known, da-da-da-da. Some people are too far gone. They're already in the void. I personally believe people are used as a conduit to whatever, to salvation, to damnation, whatever. Sometimes it's beyond them. And after they stop being that conduit, there's a hole. It's in them. Like they start feeling that, like, oh, wait a minute, I just led this guy to a path of destruction for my own reasons or whatever, And I truly believe if you don't recognize that, if you don't have no consciousness of self, and you're like, wait a minute, I was being used as a conduit for destruction and death. Wait a minute, am I destruction and death? Do I deserve it? Do I need to fall down in there? And it just, you have a million questions, and there you go.
It becomes a point where not only do you have to be able to forgive someone else, but also forgive yourself.
Yes. And I don't think she had the forgiveness. And it really hit me really, really hard last year because I've always been the friend, not to toot my horn, but I call my friends. I call all my friends whether they pick up or not. I want to be the glue because I've been there. I've been really dark places in my life, right? And just to have someone to talk to, so they're not thinking of it, like it's like the whole classic thing, like you can think of a million things, right? Say if I can't get a hold of my kid, right? And I'm like, oh, they got abducted by aliens, they got swallowed by a whale, and you think of all this crazy shit. You can think of a million things, and none of them's the right thing until you actually find out and know. Do you express yourself like, hey, I'm really missing my son right now. Oh, he's at the park. And you're like, oh. I thought he was being human trafficked. Like, oh, yo, like I think it's that. I think people like hold it to themselves too much, And if you hold it to yourself, you try to figure out in yourself, that's not us. That's not us humans. Us humans work on networking. You know what I mean? Like we're very social people, and as more as we're trying to like, that's how we relate. That's how we're very social creatures and stuff like that. Like if you try to like, I can't even say the word because my tongue sucks though. But like if you try to separate people and put them in these different categories and like separate themselves out there, you get into this echo chamber. And then that's what's true because this other person says it or this person says it. And the phone that's like singling you out and being very segregating your thoughts and stuff like that. Like, this is true, this is true, this is true, this is true. If you don't seek anything else, if you don't speak it out, you gotta speak that out. You gotta speak out your demons. You know what I mean? Like, you have to admit, you have to talk, you have to expel.
This is where the soundtrack from Frozen kicks in.
Yeah.
And I
Let it go.
I seriously let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go, right?
It's true.
You gotta let it go. Awesome, man. We really appreciate you being on the Paranormal Border podcast.
Thank you.
And sharing your creative projects, your past, and then your stories too. So those are very important. You know, we all have our stories. As artists, we want to be able to share those stories. And it's really important for us to get multiple perspectives on things. And so we really value and thank your time. Thank you for your time today on the Paranormal Border podcast. And then we will post your links so people can follow you, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X.
And I got something big coming.
Oh.
I'm calling it Wow EJMJ.
Wow.
I'm going to be launching it in the next month or so. It stands for The Wonderful World of EJMJ. Now, this is going to be more of what goes on my mind. You know, like we're talking like all the skits and all the funny stuff that goes in my head, all the scripts I've written.
The B-rolls.
Yeah, the B-rolls. So look out for Wow EJMJ. You can look up at the site. I have it up right now on YouTube.
Awesome.
But
we'll make sure to post that too and plug that.
That's the next generation. That's
awesome,
the next generation.
Man. Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate you.